Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it.
Technology, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Master Connector Show. I'm your co-host, Rob Genovese. And look, if you're tuning in for the first time today, I want you to bookmark your calendar because we're coming at you every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and bringing you great guests. The Master Connector Show is all about making connections, building community. We're bringing you the best of people in their industries who are kicking butt, who are accomplishing things, who are overcoming things, and are coming here to teach you how to do that, to teach us. Because I don't know about you, but I got a history and a journey of overcoming. And most anybody who's done anything in life has that overcoming thing. And that's where my co-host Steve and I met. Steve Spiro, he and I go back about 27 years or so. We are two introverts, two former shy guys. I was clueless. I think Steve had a half a clue. He had a leg up on me. Steve was already pretty well accomplished. He had an advertising agency in New York City. He also holds a couple of black belts in a couple of different martial arts disciplines. So he can kill you 10 ways till Tuesday and you didn't even see what was coming. Me, I was just trying to figure out who the heck I was in life. But look, we're not shy guys anymore. We're still introverts and it's an energy thing. But look, we always want to be building connections with people. And that's why Steve decided to do this long before I came along. Then I joined him last year because we want to bring people together. We want to show you, look, if these two guys can do something to accomplish anything, not that we've done anything big yet because we're still got some things coming down the pike, but look, we are connecting people. We are connecting with people and we are accomplishing our goals and that never ends. So look, we got a great guest for you today, as we do every single week. But listen, we also want you to make sure that you are seeing upcoming sessions of the Master Connector Show. So look, I want you to go to masterconnector.show and you can see what's coming up, see who's coming up. You can mark your calendars, but be here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and you're going to see some great guests. So before we bring up our guests, I want to bring up the Master Connector himself. I've become a Master Connector. He's the Master Connector. Come on, Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
What's going on, Robbie G? How you doing, sir? Great to see you.
You too.
Listen, I miss you. We skipped the Wednesday because of the 4th of July weekend and hope everyone had an incredible weekend. But it's like, man, I'm like, oof. I was like
weird
itching to be on with you and the rest of the community here.
It seems like something was a big void between this show.
No, it totally felt like a void, right? But I'm glad we got a chance to relax and unwind. And but it's great to be with you. And Robbie G, it's been a blast getting to know you. And I think it's 25 years. I was doing some math recently, but we got 25, 27. It's all the same. It is just amazing seeing the progression and what's happened for you in your life and your career and everything. So appreciate you. But what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And, listen, as the Master Connector, I firmly believe that communicating your purpose is the cornerstone of meaningful connection and lasting impact. Okay. And by the way, before we get into a little of this, I want to just say, go on, get in the comments, connect with each other. Make sure you're telling us what city, what state, what country you're from. And, because it's the Master Connector Show, we encourage people, if you're watching us live, don't be a LinkedIn lurker, be a participant, get in there, connect, make sure we know you're here. We just get a number and sometimes that number isn't even accurate. So we don't know unless you're in the comments. We don't know you're here, you exist. So be a participant and then you can connect with each other because again, that's what we're about. We're creating community and growing connections. That's the fourth pillar of our show and what I speak about on stage. But speaking of which, on stage, I love sharing how articulating your true purpose can transform your professional and personal relationships. And, when you clearly convey your mission, you attract like-minded individuals who share your vision and values. And that's what happened here, right? Initially, this show got started because Cameron and I had some similar visions and some things we wanted to accomplish. And then he needed to move on back to his event staffing stuff. And my good friend Rob of 25, 27 years, whatever it is, we talked and we're like, we have a very similar background as he spoke about and similar vision in terms of making an impact and, overcoming obstacles and challenges and being able to really, impact this world. And so we came together, but like this and what I've done with doing with Rob and here on the show, the alignment fosters deeper connections and trust and a sense of community. Again, talking about that community, personal storytelling, which I love doing. Love telling the stories when I'm on stage all the time. It's a big part of what I'm speaking about because I think people learn from stories. But it's a powerful tool in this process that allows others to see your journey and understand your motivations and feel inspired by your experiences. Right? We're going to talk today about that your personal brand isn't just about you. It isn't. It's about how you can serve and uplift others through your unique gifts and your purpose. So we're going to get into it. It's going to be an amazing. Before we get any further, I want to have my man, Mr. Rob G, do this. But type in hashtag Let's Go, and he's going to go introduce our amazing guest. Rob, I'll turn it to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, we are really excited today. We have an amazing guest. And if you're really active on LinkedIn, chances are you've seen Alana before. You heard from her. You've read her posts. She is one of the biggest things on LinkedIn. In fact, I'm going to read this, but listen, Alana Sparrow is a distinguished branding expert with over 35 years of pioneering experience. Her mastery spans aiding startups to Fortune 500s and honing executive, employer, and commercial brands, boosting revenue, cementing authority, and attracting top-tier talent. Listen, she's celebrated as a top 50 LinkedIn influencer, securing the 11th spot globally and 3rd in the US in branding and positioning. Yeah, she's the real deal. Her dynamic presence on LinkedIn has recently earned her a position among the 15 fastest growing creators. Alana co-founded the Foundry for Art, Design Plus Culture, a New York State minority women-led enterprise specializing in brand strategy and creative services. Please welcome to the show, Alana Sparrow. What's up, Alana?
Hi.
Good to have you.
It's good to be here. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Rob, for that wonderful introduction.
You deserve it. And it is an honor having you on our show. And, Rob, I mean, you say it all the time. I'm like, when you do a great job, Rob, in introducing our incredible guests. And every time you do it, I'm like, wow, we have this amazing person on our show. It's incredible. So Alana, it's an honor. And your last name is exactly what people misspell my last name, right? Everyone like, is that Sparrow? Sparro? I'm like, no, it's Spiro, Spiro. But you got a great last name. I love it.
Thank you. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a keeper, right?
Yes, it is a keeper.
I just want to acknowledge, and I'm not sure if she's in your network or not, but Shazaya, the most engaging element in a personal story is describing event in a sequence. Okay, very, very cool. And Yolanda is welcoming you. Yolanda is an amazing, loyal member of our community. She's here every week, which we appreciate you, Yolanda, joining us from Texas, the great state of Texas, right? But anyway, we're going to dig into this. So here's we're going to start with hashtag community. Type in hashtag serve, because we're all about serving, right? The reason that we're here, in my opinion, is to serve you. That this is your show. It's not our show. So we want to, and you could throw in a little bit of your story if you want on this answer. But Alana, we'd love for you to share an example of how your personal brand has helped you serve others effectively.
Yeah, that's a big one. So my personal purpose, why, mission has been the same since college, really since a teen, which is to inspire and empower. And that's translated in a few different ways, working with business brands and now through my personal brand here on LinkedIn. Is I have this opportunity to not only through my own story and different things that I've accomplished, I inspire people. They tell me all the time that I inspire, but for me, that falls short, because really what I my deepest desire is to empower people to do that for themselves, to go after their purpose, their big vision, and their mission. And, I've only been on LinkedIn working with people with their personal brands since the fall. This is a new service that we've added to our agency, and it has been just unbelievably rewarding for me. And so it just checks a lot of boxes for me in that regard.
Love that. It's great. So, and I appreciate that. And it's funny. Before we were in the green room talking, you're like all over the world right now. You've got these cool destinations, and just so cool how you're able to live your life the way you are, and impact people still, whether it be virtually or wherever you are. So that's really the next piece of what we want to talk about. Because to me, it's all about impact, right?
Yeah.
As I started sharing about. In the opening, right? So we want to so type in hashtag impact community, and here's what we want to talk about, right? What are the key elements that make a personal brand authentic and, most importantly, impactful?
Okay, so that's interesting, because I think that first, before you can have impact, you need to have clarity around what it is, where you want to go. You have to have clarity around your why, because your why is the thing that drives. It's the passion. And then you have to know where it is you want to go in order, and put strategy behind that in order to be able to be impactful. So just wanting to do it isn't really, quite enough. You have to really have both of those together. And I've lost track of your question, so repeat it.
Oh, good. It's what's the key elements that make a personal brand authentic and impactful?
Oh,
Yeah.
it was the authentic piece. Okay, so
Yeah.
being real, being genuine. I think that authentic pieces, it's often overused, and even really sometimes even just misunderstood. And I think that for a lot of people, they don't really know what that looks like and what it means, because for so many of us, especially if you've spent a lot of time in a corporate environment, maybe in an industry that wasn't always a perfect fit for you. So maybe you went into accounting or banking or became a lawyer because you kind of got just corralled into that. Your personality, you've maybe always felt a little out of pocket there and really didn't quite fit in. And so what I have found in working with a lot of people is that they have been showing up not only in their personal lives, but especially their professional lives, really not as them. So they don't quite know what that looks like. What does it mean? But you really have to have both in order to be able to bring voice to your, any kind of a cause or your business, and, meet those goals. You have to get clarity around who is the real you. And a lot of it, for a lot of people, it's some soul searching too, and letting some other things go.
What you said, Alana, and I'm going to ring in because for our audience, what Alana said. Now, Alana and I have never met before, but what Alana said mirrors my journey. Because the truth is that clarity around who you are is so, and I think people get tired of hearing Alana, right? They're just like, yeah, whatever, just tell me how to succeed. And they don't understand my journey from figuring who I was. See, I did spend over 25 years in corporate. I was wearing the mask that they taught me to wear, and it was very hard to pull off. And when I went out on my own, I took it with me and wondered why I wasn't getting clients. I wasn't getting good clients. I wasn't getting enough. I was getting ignored. And when I finally got to the bottom of it, when I discovered brand strategy and put myself through a process to reveal that, I realized that wasn't me at all. I mean, we're not even close. Like I was clean shaven, button down shirt, leather belt, shoes to match, slacks. I was the corporate picture. That's not who I am. And once I found out who I was, again, my favorite word, you said clarity around that, then I built the true brand of who I am. And things honestly really took off. I mean, not just in my head, but actually really took off. And I was able to get success with clients through that methodology. So just to emphasize what Alana just said, everybody, I mean, don't ignore that piece of the clarity around who you really are. We hear it so much, sometimes it becomes, like you said, white noise. But if you haven't figured that out, you need to overcome the fear, but you need to figure that out. Great point, Alana. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate that. That's great. You know, Rob, it's funny because you know a little bit of my background as well, and I was, we're going to get into stories. So, community, while we're talking, type in hashtag story because that's going to be the next piece of the question. But for me, it was basically I was just in a shell of a man. I was in a dark place and just really hated myself. There was nothing. I compared myself to others, and I didn't feel like I ever lived up. And it wasn't until I was in a silent retreat where I was actually, it was one of these wild places where you were told, don't look at each other's eyes when you're in this place. So no talking and you can't look at each other's eyes. It was a wild experience. And so I had to do something. So I was sitting near a window, and outside I saw like a tree and a bird on a tree limb. Right. And I'm like, and I don't know, something hit me and it was like, I'm okay. It's okay. They're okay. We're okay. It's okay. And I don't know. It seems so simple to me still when I say it, but that's what I just needed to get peace within who I am and understand, like what you found as far as finding the true self, who you are, Rob. I needed to at least be okay with who I was. So anyway, everyone has their story. So we want to talk about your perspective here, Alana, right? So in the topic of story, how can individuals balance sharing their personal stories while keeping the focus on serving others?
Yeah, that's always everybody wants to know, like, what's the secret to that?
Yeah.
And we all have so many stories that make us up. And sometimes the stories they're not even sometimes, they are always a combination of things that are joyful, that are sad, that are tragic, that are complicated, that are messy, that are boring. That's life, right? And some have a greater impact on how we show up every day than others. And the ones to decide to tell are the ones where you can circle it back to be relevant and of value or a lesson to someone else. And I have stories that I frame out all the time. I have these different experiences that are really interesting. If you're sitting around having wine with your friends, people are like, oh man, that story's amazing. But when I think about it to my greater audience, it has a test. So I call posts that I'm drafting, they're in my hopper. So I have hopper posts that until I can bring a story full circle back to where my audience is now a part of it or in the middle of it in some way, I don't share it. And I never share stories, especially highly vulnerable ones, in the moment, because that's not really the time. You're not really learning a lesson with complete clarity when you're in the thick of it. So if you get angry at your boss, you get fired, writing a story about it right in the moment is usually something I've advised against, because there's too much emotion in there. It's too charged. And oftentimes it's very difficult to see your audience in it because you're so wrapped in your own head. So those are kind of my very basic framework around how to bring personal story into your personal brand and what to share.
What would you say to somebody, Alana? Because, the whole story thing is something that I've discovered too is powerful. And I was just talking with somebody yesterday, and part of how I get people to know me is it's telling the story. And it's not like, hey, let me tell you a story. It's just like, tell me about you. And I tell it in a story form. And I've developed it over time where people usually, this is not a backpat, I'm just saying, he said, wow, what a great story. So that means that it was engaging and it probably stuck with him. But what would you say to our audience who say things like, yeah, but I don't really have a story. I don't have a compelling story. What are some basic things you would tell them to be able to tell their story regardless of what it is?
Well, everybody has a compelling story. We're just bored with our own stories. we don't because we've lived with it for so long, or there could be, self-doubt inside of that, but everybody has compelling and very interesting insights into their story. And I think that the best way is to get out of your own head and to start to share those. And you don't have to share them out in public to start. You can share them with people around you. There's other venues and avenues to share those stories, to kind of get comfortable with story, just sharing pieces of you. And so I don't know. I just don't buy it that somebody doesn't have compelling stories, because I think everybody has interesting stories.
I agree. I agree. And sometimes you just got to pull it out of them. And one of the questions that I like when I do a lot of connect calls, probably 3 or 4 or 5 a day. It's crazy. And I know that's how you and I got to get to know each other and have you on the show here. But, and one of the questions I like to ask is along the lines of why, like, why do they do what they do and what's really driving them? And when you start to get into that, you start to be able to pull out things that could be relevant for their story, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the why, and I meant to do this earlier in the show, but so type in hashtag why. Exactly. Thank you, Rob. And by the way, before we ask the question, I just want to make a few acknowledgments here. So Max, it looks like Max is somebody part of your community. So welcome to the show, Max Lowry, and he has something cool to say. The way you just described telling your story, may seem like the majority of a post or stories are scheduled and strategic. Do you ever post off of the cuff or in the moment? So I guess you can answer that question if you don't mind.
Oh, not at all. And almost, I'm not going to say all, that's just, it's too finite, but yes, strategy very much is involved, because I want stories to build. There's also strategy behind what it is I'm trying to achieve, whether it's grow an audience, lead into sales, or what have you, or build upon a theme, deepen into a theme. So yes, I consider how one story informs the next, and so on and so forth. But in terms of on the cuff, 1,000%. There's times when a post that I was planning for the next day, it doesn't work out. I'll write live TV. And when I say that everything has to be thought out, I'm talking about those deep personal stories, or these random stories that we're talking about. Like, how does it come back to my audience? You definitely could start to put stuff out there and have throwaway posts. You can experiment and do that. But I prefer to get the most bang out of my buck every day. I mean, if I'm going to take the time to do it and I'm going to spend time commenting, I want to get as much as I can from each one and give as much as I can from each one, even most importantly. So yes, it can happen both ways.
Appreciate that. And I want to also acknowledge Walter, who's saying, Alan, great point disclosure. What point do you open up? Okay. There might be some chatter going on in the chat that I'm not seeing. But anyway, welcome to the show, Walter. Maybe you can, if you want a question for Alana, just make sure it's clear what your question is. But glad to have you on the show. I think it's first time, Walter, seeing you on the show here. And I also want to acknowledge a good friend, Margaret Martinez. I was blessed to be on her LinkedIn audio and experience some of her audio rooms. And so she's an amazing lady to connect with. So again, just appreciate everyone joining us here. But I want to get to that why question. So why is building a personal brand crucial in today's professional landscape?
Well, I think it's crucial in every landscape, even beyond professional, because what a personal brand has the ability to do is not only build a business, advance a career, but it also has the ability to give voice to a cause. We have things that are beyond our business or beyond our career that we want to be able to do. And for me, I see personal brands, because in my mind, a personal brand is putting strategy behind 3 things, which is where it is you want to go, what it is you want to do, and who it is you want to serve. So when you pull that down, it has so much ability to have an impact on an individual level, on the level of a group of people, an entire business, an entire community, state, country, so on and so forth. So to me, personal brands, they just have so much potential for impact to really have meaningful contributions to our society. And so, and also what it means is that it's accessible to everyone and useful to everyone, so long as you have a goal and a purpose and, that sort of thing.
Great. All right, we're gonna try to slip in one more before we close things down here. And obviously, I don't know if you guys remember in school we were taught the 5 W's or the 6 W's: who, what, where, when, and why, and how. Right? Which the how is H. But I want to get into the how, right? Which is, how does a personal story enhance connections and foster a sense of community? Because that's what we're all about here, building community.
Okay, so how I feel about it is that we invest in what we know, we invest in what we love, and we invest in what we understand. And so in order for people to be able to invest in us, we have to give something of ourselves. And so, for instance, if I share that for instance, I've shared recently a story about my mom and a whole personal experience about my childhood. And it was a very vulnerable story. And when people see that, they see that I've broke the guard down and I've shared something that my experience, even though they might not have the same shared exact experience, is that they can now champion for me. They see, hey, look what she did. She went through that, but she still came out on this other side. They've now invested in me. And that's what we need to be able to do. You have to give in order for people to invest in you. And I believe that when people are invested in you, they cheer for you, they stay with you. It's sticky. And that's the value of it. Yeah.
No doubt. I love that. No, it's great. It's absolutely great. And one of the things you said, and I speak about a lot on stage, is the topic of, you break barriers in this complex digital era, which is, we're connected but really disconnected because screens have cut everywhere. So we blocked people blocked off from each other, even though we're connected, we're not. And by being vulnerable and being able to share those things, the barriers come down. Like, what Rob was alluding to when he tells the story. When I tell my story, people often get emotional, and they start sharing their story and they get emotional about their story, and the barriers are down. So, and that's how you create true, genuine connection. And I believe that is really what's missing in the world, in this digital world that we are today. And it's my mission is to break those barriers. So fantastic.
Let me just say, as far as vulnerability, really quick.
Yeah.
Look, Steve can legitimately hurt you before you can blink. Like, his disciplines in the martial arts, like, we're not just saying, hey, he took a couple of karate classes. Like, Steve is legit. And that kind of ability to be a man of, they say, steel and the velvet side, the vulnerability. Listen, men, guys, you got testosterone coursing through your body. Be vulnerable, because I'm telling you, it's one of the greatest disarming tools that will draw people closer to you. When you share something a little bit vulnerable, don't share everything right up front because you freak people out, but you share a little something, they're inclined to share back, like Steve said. So great point, Alana and Steve.
Appreciate that. Alana, what's the best way? We appreciate you big time. What's the best way for our community to reach you? And if you have any closing comments, please, as we wind things down.
Well, they can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm there every day. There's typically not a day that I'm there. And as far as like the closing, is that I think that something that I feel is very important around your personal brand is getting to that core of your why. You have to uncover your voice in order to be able to speak to someone else or on behalf of someone else. And so you find your voice, uncover your voice for you first. And it's the greatest gift you can ever give yourself. So that'd be my closing remark.
I appreciate that. Well, we really enjoyed having you on. I know you blessed our community and you blessed us in a major way. We're going to put you in the green room, but we
Thank you
appreciate
for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oof.
Good stuff. Wow, that was great, right, Rob G?
It was great. It always seems like we should lengthen the show, but
Yeah.
we get the quality stuff if we keep it compressed.
No doubt about it. Yeah, we're winding down. So I want to just say this really as we wind down. First of all, thank you, community. We saw some people on today that we haven't met before. Unfortunately, the person that's coming up as LinkedIn user, I don't know who you are, but we appreciate you big time. And Eliza and Shazaya and Yolanda and Walter and Kwarat and it's Eliza again, right? And I think Margaret was on here and Max on here contributing. Everyone, we really appreciate you. But listen, this is your show. It's not ours. So just again, if you appreciate what you saw, you're going to appreciate next week. Next week, July 17th, we're going to be on speaking with Michael Filato, and it's on taking your network to the next level, right? It's a little more tactical, but it's going to be a great show with an incredible guest. This gentleman, Michael, is the real deal. So don't miss it. But I want to, and by the way, if you're looking at maybe at some point being a sponsor of an episode, not the whole show, but an episode, very affordable, reasonable, check out masterconnected.show. And also, as Rob said earlier in the show, it's a good way. You can also see all the up and coming episodes, topics, and amazing guests that we have. I think we're lined up all the way till March, end of March of 25. Believe it or not, it's crazy. But we're just excited about who we have on our show. But I want to tell you a quick story as I close here. And I mentioned her before, and she's not, I think Rob even may have mentioned it just today. But Oprah, right? Oprah Winfrey, a media mogul and philanthropist, has always communicated her purpose of empowering others through storytelling and connection. And from her humble beginnings, she shared her personal struggles and triumphs which resonated deeply with millions of viewers worldwide. By authentically communicating her purpose, Oprah built a powerful personal brand that not only uplifted her career, but also inspired and transformed countless lives. Remember, folks, we all have a story, the good, the bad, the ugly. You never know who your story will impact and inspire. And let's be that light. See you next week.
And you start to hear some of their challenges. And yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives